you're going to call me a liar and a coward, I'm going to jump in and take you on.
You are a coward.
They murdered more journalists than all other conflicts in the world combined. They murdered Muslim Americans, 12 of them. The IDF already wrote my name on a bomb. It's not like...
Oh my God.
If the UN's experts are correct, then Iran is or was 3 days away from enriching enough uranium to build an atomic bomb. That would support Prime Minister Netanyahu's claim that Iran is months, not years, from developing nuclear weapons. And nuclear Iran would be a serious threat to Israel and, frankly, to all of us. Now, we know this because the ruling mullahs are not subtle about their intentions. As we're supposed to believe that chanting death to Israel, death to Britain and death to America is just excitable rhetoric like globalize the intifada. But there's a lot that we don't know for sure about this crisis. Frankly, the foreign policy experts don't have a stellar record on weapons of mass destruction in Middle Eastern dictatorships. Today, the IAEA, whose evidence is the basis for a lot of this, said the IDF is exaggerating the damage it's done to Iran's nuclear facilities. As recently as March, the US Director of National Intelligence said this.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
Both of those statements are pretty vague. When you say not building a nuclear weapon, the real question is he enriching the uranium? I imagine that, well, is building the warhead itself arbitrary? Maybe not. Maybe that is a sufficient or decently difficult process. But the uranium enrichment, I think, is the big thing that people are concerned about. And recreating the same nuclear weapons program from 2003, is it a new one? Or I don't know. I don't trust this person at all. This is an evil, demonic person as well. So
the IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Well, Netanyahu has been talking up the imminent threat of a nuclear weapon in Tehran for at least 33 years, and his core message has always been that Europe, and most importantly America, should be very afraid about it. Here he was making that point to me in 2013.
Stop your nuclear program. Why do you need underground bunkers? Why do you need ICBMs? The sole purpose of ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, is to carry nuclear payloads. By the way, not to Israel, to Europe and to the United States. They already have missiles that reach Israel. Why do you need to enrich uranium?
Well, most of the allies who are furious with Israel's increasingly brutal war in Gaza are in lockstep with Netanyahu on Iran, but that doesn't mean there is any public support for being dragged into a full-scale war. And mission creep is Netanyahu's speciality. If Israel's neutralized Iran's nuclear threat, then I support that. But I think I speak for most when I say I don't support mass civilian suffering in a prolonged war that's contingent on support from everybody else. In a moment, we'll debate all this with my panel, the economist of Sunday Times, Matthew Said, host and founder of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, Ben Ferguson, who's the co-host of The Verdict with Ted Cruz, and Jack Posobiec, the senior editor at Human Events. But first, I'm joined by Danny Danon. He's the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations.
Crazy that Posobiec is allowed to even show his face in the United States without being immediately exiled.
There are many people who say that Prime Minister Netanyahu in particular has spent 3 decades talking.
Is there any actual proof how much they've enriched it? Well, for the first time, I believe that the International Atomic Energy Agency, I think put out a warning statement saying that Iran is up to some shit. And then the number that I keep hearing passed around is that they've enriched uranium up to 60% thus far is the estimate, which is really scary and is that's pretty far in the direction of almost having something ready to be weapons grade uranium. So that's not good.
About the imminent danger of Iran developing nuclear weapons and enriching uranium. Why should we believe now that it is any nearer to being done than in those 30 odd years?
Well, first, you need to listen to the IAEA. If you don't want to believe us or our intelligence, they said themselves that they have enough enriched uranium, that it's enough for multiple bombs. And then you look at the intentions, and I tend to believe the Iranians. When they say they want to destroy Israel, I believe them. When they say that they will use those weapons, and have a sign that actually with a clock in the square in the middle.
Purely from a strategic point of view, would the U.S. bombing Iran be worth it? I would say yes, but the problem is you would like this to be a part of a larger, more comprehensive vision for the Middle East. I think I'd prefer weapons be given to Israel, and then Israel goes and bombs them. Having the United States fly this mission with actual U.S. planes, it feels substantially different. I feel like we should just give the shit to Israel. They're bunker busters or whatever the fuck else. Just give it to them and let them fly the missions. I don't know why U.S. planes would be doing this. It seems kind of weird.
Middle of Iran, I believe them. So we don't take any chances anymore. And after October 7th, we saw the evil of our enemies.
Verification monitoring of the Islamic Republic of Iran in light of United Nations Security Council Resolution 2231, dated May 31st, 2025. As previously reported on December 5th, 2024, 6 months ago, Iran started feeding the 2 IR-6 cascades, producing UF-6 enriched up to 60%, U-235 at FFEP with UF6 enriched up to 20%, U-235 rather than UF6 enriched up to 5%, U-235, without altering the enrichment level of the product. The effect of this change has been to significantly increase the rate of production of UF6 enriched up to 60% at FFEP to over 34 kilograms of uranium in the form of UF6 per month. Iran's second pilot enrichment plant. Okay, so that's a nuclear plant. Uranium hexafluoride. This is the gas or whatever that they shoot through to centrifuge stuff out or whatever. It's a volatile white solid that can be converted into a gas when heated, making it suitable for gaseous diffusion and centrifuge enrichment processes. Okay. 60% of what, or is it more than, when you have it just refers to, like, if you have a block of uranium, you're asking what percentage of that uranium is a certain type of uranium that is good for sustaining highly volatile nuclear reaction, basically, that can explode. And to make a thing that blows up really well, you want a block of uranium, and you want that uranium to be like 90 to 95% of a certain type of uranium of, is it 235? And then the other 40%, I'm guessing, is 238, right? So it's just a matter of getting it up higher and higher and higher. If you want to do like power plant stuff, then you can have a block of uranium, and it only has to be only like 5%, I think at the most, needs to be uranium-235. Once you get past 5%, then people are like, well, what are you doing with that? But once you get it up to 90 to 95%, that's like capable of being used to do a nuclear explosion. But they really were that close? Yes, this is a statement from like the International Atomic Energy bullshit agency. Like, this is showing that they were in December, they already had stuff enriched up to 60%, and they had over 34 kilograms of uranium they enriched up to 60% at this nuclear power plant centrifuge stuff, over 34 kilograms of uranium in the form of UF6 per month. Jesus. Installing a ton of these things. But, okay.
You've been very successful in taking out a lot of the senior military commanders in Iran and a number of nuclear scientists. This is according to obviously what you have put out. But the Ayatollah remains alive. It's been reported that President Trump has vetoed any attempt to assassinate the Ayatollah. But I mean, why, out of interest, if you're going to target all the top people of the regime, why would you not target the Ayatollah?
Piers, I will not go into details, but I will tell you that, we showed our capabilities. We showed the amount of intelligence we have about the whereabouts of the leadership of Iran and the IRGC. We showed our capability to fly everywhere, not only above Tehran, everywhere in Iran, which is a huge country. So we have those capabilities, and we will decide, what we will do next.
Well, let's go to the panel. Cenk, I could see you reacting pretty violently to what you were hearing there. So what is your response to what you heard from the ambassador?
It's a goddamn genocide.
Yeah, when Israeli officials speak, it's like they're in fantasy land.
Yes.
So those of us who were opposed to their war crimes and genocide said they were going to take Gaza, that it had nothing to do with self-defense, it had to do with land acquisition, as all the wars that Israel starts has to do with. They said, oh, that's anti-Semitic, how dare you? Now their cabinet has said, yeah, we're going to take Gaza, it's a conquest. So now they've started another offensive war in Iran. They'll pretend to be the victims, that's what they always do. Oh my God, so I had to start a war for self-defense. Nonsense, garbage. Just like you said, 33 years, they've been saying any day now Iran's going to have nukes. It was a lie. Netanyahu went on Fox News over the weekend, admitted they weren't even close to having it within a year. Then they said, oh, it's because of ballistic missiles. The ambassador there again referred to the ballistic missiles. An incredible number of countries have ballistic missiles. Is Israel going to attack all of them? Is Israel going to...
Are we going to bring up the recent statements that have been a historic departure, I think, because I don't think the IAEA has ever made statements about Iran being close to having weapons-grade uranium. Ever. I don't think in the history ever. Are we going to reference these at all, or are these guys all Jewish as well? I didn't check the names on the reports, so...
invade all of them and then pretend that it's self-defense? How many? And then they talk about, oh, we try so hard to not have civilian deaths, and then American media plays along. No, they killed hundreds of civilians in Tehran. So they always kill civilians. They always kill more civilians than their opponents while pretending that they care so much about civilians. They're the ones starting all the wars. We all have eyes and ears. We just saw them start this war. And every time American media plays along and pretends that there's a fantasy land where Israel's the victim, and oh my God, they just had to attack yet another Middle Eastern neighbor. They just had to take Gaza. So almost when you hear an Israeli official speaking, they're lying. They're lying almost 100% of the time.
I mean, I'm going to come to Ben Ferguson to respond. All I would say is, clearly, when you have the leader of Iran, the Ayatollah, who's gone on record as saying he wants to get rid of Israel, and when you have Hamas in Gaza, who are also wedded to getting rid of Israel, it's not completely irrational that they would feel that they are under threat. Now, you and I have debated a lot. The way they've gone about things in Gaza is markedly different how they've gone about things in Iran and with Hezbollah. But I don't think we can pretend that Israel is not under threat from either Iran or Hamas. Ben Ferguson.
Yeah, what he just said omitted one massive aspect of the conversation. There was an attack on Israel. There was the kidnapping and the torturing and the raping and the murdering of innocent people that were gathering to have a fun weekend.
What is October 7th? Oh my God. I've been on shows with this guy before. He's a conservative dipshit, or MAG, I think.
Idea that he is forgetting what happened on October 7th and acting like Israel just woke up on a random Tuesday and decided to start...
This has nothing to do with October 7th. Or like in a far away way it does, but that's not why Iran is being attacked right now. But
attacking Gaza. is absolute anti-Semitic insanity. We know what started this. And the second part of this, he says, hey, are they going to attack everybody in the world that has ballistic missiles? I lock my doors at my house every night for the people that might be right outside of my house. And you have someone that is saying, we want to annihilate you from the river of the sea and chants death to Israel, and says they want to murder you because you are Jewish, and to act as if they don't have a right to defend themselves, and to attack Gaza after you have a massive terrorist network, an underground tunnel system that allows for them to go after you every single night, where you have to have an iron dome to protect and defend. So everything you just said, with all due respect, is absolute propaganda for the terrorists, because you admitted the fact that Israel was attacked first, that started the whole damn thing.
Okay, no.
Matthew Said.
No, that's not
hang on, Jake.
What I heard was propaganda for a terrorist just now from Ben. The terrorist state of Israel, who's been occupying the
planned the attack and who supported the attack on October 7th.
Why don't you let them go? Why don't you let foreign people go? How much do you want to oppress and humiliate and murder them? Now you're going to murder Iranians. And by the way, Ben, I think you forgot. You're an American, not an Israeli. Act like an American, not an Israeli. What are you, a foreign agent? Why are you working for a foreign government? Why don't you care about American interests? We got no interest in this war.
All right.
True. The Jewish mind control. Call it out, Mr. Turkman. Yes, the Jew control is in our brains. Yes.
I have an interest in people being able to live a life without fear of bombs coming into their backyard, hitting their apartments, hitting their homes from a terrorist organization.
Iran, Gaza, and all of the Middle Eastern neighbors of Israel. They live in fear of Israel, the terrorist state attacking
Israel
them.
Doesn't go on the
all Israel ever does is attack their neighbors and take their land.
All right.
Why did you admit?
There's absolutely no question about it.
I've known you for a long time. One question. Why did you admit in your opening statement that Israel was attacked on October the 7th? Why did you not mention it one time? Because that is the fact that you cannot bring up, because that is what started the catalyst of where we are today. You know it, so you didn't mention it because you want to indict Israel. Acting like
why not? We can be way more narrow. Israel is not attacking Iran because of October 7th. I don't know what the we're talking about. Israel is attacking Iran because they think that Iran is very close, either weeks or few months away from having like missiles that can deliver active and armed nuclear warheads to Israeli territory. That's what's going on right now. I don't know why we're talking about October 7th. Like, in a broader conversation, we can talk about October 7th, sure, but that's not what's happening right now.
Can I answer?
Attacking people. It's bullshit.
All right, listen, I do want to let the other two panelists come in. Jake, you'll get a chance to come back.
58 years of brutal occupation. And you think it started on October 7th?
Let's not go back to the whole
2 years later, you're still murdering Palestinians? Still murdering Palestinian children?
There's a genocide going on.
Okay, you love genocide. I got
there
it.
are four panelists, guys. There are four panelists. You can come back on in a second and have further thoughts. Matthew Said, you had a great column at the weekend, and you were talking, and I thought it was very striking to me, about the difference between Vladimir Putin rattling his nuclear saber, because, as you pointed out, he's an extremely materialistic guy who's amassed hundreds of billions of illicit gains at the expense of his people, and he's the last person that would want to actually die for his country by pressing nuclear buttons, which would lead to his immediate vaporization. I've been saying that for ages. However, it is a different thing when it comes to Iran.
How is Israel attacking Iran loosely connected to October 7th, like you said? Because Iran is a supporter of Hamas. I don't remember what the direct involvement was. I'm pretty sure there were some planners that were involved in it, but Iran supports all of the proxies that attack Israel, Hezbollah, the Houthis. Hamas.
There will be people there with very fundamentalist ideals who might think, if they're cornered, who might think if there's nothing else they think can get them through, who might think nothing of using a nuclear weapon if it came to it. It was the same kind of nihilistic attitude that we saw from Al-Qaeda, that we saw from ISIS and so on.
That's right. I mean, just a couple of quick points. Firstly, I like to think of myself as broadly pro-Israel, but I think, like you, feel that the destruction that has been visited upon Gaza is a moral, political and strategic calamity. When it comes to Iran, the reason I think that the logic of nuclear deterrence won't work is because they are, many of them in the regime, religious fanatics. They believe they have absolute truth. And the psychology of that is very interesting. It means that anyone who doesn't subscribe to their truth is an infidel, and that they are wrong. And they glorify martyrdom and believe that if they can take down infidels, they will go through a door into paradise where they will be blessed forever. And I grew up in the 1980s.
I could be wrong. One day we'll do Iranian history. We never will. I don't think Iran is actually like this. They might say they're like this, and they might train other people to be like this, but I don't know. I don't think they themselves typically engage in this. Do they for Iran? Like, are there Iranian suicide things, or is it like Iranian proxy groups that engage in that kind of stuff? Kind of. I don't even know how common Iranian proxy groups are for that stuff, like Hezbollah or Houthis. Are they like suicide bombing all the time? I'm not. But I mean, when we do the original, when we do the religious analysis, it comes back to places like this. I don't know.
My father was born as a Shia Muslim, and I followed the Iran-Iraq war extremely closely. And viewers might be interested that the clerics, the fanatics who took over after the 79 revolution, indoctrinated young, innocent children that they were supposed to protect and asked them to walk and often run into minefields and blow themselves up. And they were then depicted in government propaganda as heroes, their limbs strewn across battlefields that many of us have now forgotten about. That, to me, is a death cult of great danger, not just to Israel, but to their own people. Because if they acquire a nuclear weapon and they visit one upon Israel, as they have claimed they would do, Ahmadinejad said it.
Iran literally walked children into minefields in what year? After the revolution in the 80s? Like, there's a long time between now and then.
Israel must be wiped from the pages of history. The supreme leader described it as a cancer. Call me old-fashioned, but I take these people's words. I take them at their word, if I can put it that way. But also a danger to the Iranian people who would die in a counterstrike. And by the way, my views of the regime in Iran are corroborated by 70% of the Iranian people, a fantastic people, an ancient civilization, most of whom have been immiserated by this regime that has also destabilized the wider region through proxies and Hamas and Hezbollah. And as you say, Hamas is genocidal too. So one can have, I think, an approach of saying, yeah, Israel have got things wrong. Of course they have. The person who was on before the ambassador doesn't seem to be able to admit that. But my goodness, when Israel goes after the regime in Tehran, not the Iranian people, the regime, I think all right-minded people should support it wholeheartedly.
Why is that absurd, Cenk?
Because here we go again with the neocons, just like they did with the Iraq War. We're going to liberate the Iranians by dropping a bomb on their heads. And once we murder them, they'll love us, and they'll want to get rid of
who's talking about liberating Iranians and making them love us and all? Like, bro, back to Iraq. All right.
Regime. You can tell all these stories about the regime, and those are true. They're fundamentalists. They're not good guys at all. Saddam was not a good guy. That doesn't mean that we had to invade Iraq and cost ourselves several $1 trillion and over 50,000 Americans dead on behalf of Israel, who at the time called Iraq their #1 enemy, and who had
that is not what's that is not what's happening.
So in this case, Iran did not attack Israel. Israel attacked Iran. Stop lying. Stop lying. Israel attacked Iran. Iran did not attack Israel.
I'm perfectly happy to say
Israel is the aggressor.
They did through their proxies, Piers. They did through their proxies.
Yeah, I don't think they
on a daily basis.
I just think when anyone tries to defend...
Somebody should ask Cenk point blank, do you think Iran supports Hezbollah? Or Ansar Allah? Or Hamas? Somebody should just at least get him on the record so he'll say no. Or he probably won't. He'll be like, but the IDF and Israel, if anybody's going to be a terrorist in the region, the United States and Israel are the biggest terrorists, and we want to talk about proxy terrorists, we're going to talk about Israel. Like, he'll do some shit like that. But somebody should force him to answer that question at least.
And fund Hamas and Hezbollah. Think like you cannot be this dumb. I understand that you're propagandist for the regime, but you and I both know.
I understand you.
Cenk won't answer that. He will never address it, and he'll just keep talking past it because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Supports Hamas
but America first didn't want any
multiple
wars.
terrorist organizations. They have no funding without Iran.
When I hear you guys describing Israel's enemies,
they attack Israel every day. You know that. You're not that dumb. You're a smart guy.
Sure.
You're a propagandist, but you know that.
Sure. So when I hear you guys describing Israel's enemies, what you're actually doing is projection. You're describing Israel, attacking all their neighbors, killing civilians.
Yes
How good am I? How good am I? Now just bring up the U.S. does it even more. If we're going to talk about terrorists, the biggest terrorists, don't say Israel, say the United States. Hit the second point, please, so I can finish coming.
Are they
aggressive military empire, interest in acquisition and wiping out their enemies. You know who said from the river to the sea? Benjamin Netanyahu. Who's actually doing from the river to the sea? Benjamin Netanyahu. Who started all the wars? Benjamin Netanyahu. Get out, America. Get out of this war. This has nothing to do with us. These guys work for Israel.
Let me bring in Jack.
The idea that the Iranian people want to be killed, the idea that the Iranian people want to be invaded and bombed is insanity. They do not want that.
No, but I do think a lot of people in Iran. Would probably much prefer to have a different kind of ruler than they currently have, who operates such a draconian and repressive regime.
They do not want Israeli rulers.
Okay, well that's a different question. Let me come to Jack. If you wait very patiently, Jack. Cenk mentioned America first and how this is incongruous with America first. Well, at the moment, this appears to be an Israeli operation. They started this war with Iran. Donald Trump.
Israel just wants to drag the U.S. into this. I doubt this is a special military operation. Sounds like a perfect opportunity for regime change under Trump. The U.S. doesn't want to participate in a huge war. The only thing that Israel would want from the U.S. if the U.S. is involved at all is what I was saying yesterday is the thing to look out for is Israel able to degrade Iran's nuclear capabilities? That's the question. If Israel's not able to do it, then Israel's going to lean into the U.S. for help doing that. But there's no world, I don't believe, where the U.S. is doing a full-scale war with Iran. We don't want it. Iran doesn't want it. Israel probably doesn't even really want it. I don't think so. But if they can't blow this place up, if they can't Top Gun, no wait, fuck. What's the name of this? The abbreviation? Somebody's saying it's under a whole bunch of mountains and they can't get to it. That's the thing to look out for because, again, I've said this before. There is no world where Iran has a nuclear weapon and Israel has not exhausted every single part of its ability to destroy or degrade said nuclear weapons capacities. Challenges involved in military strikes against Iran's nuclear program. Fordo fuel enrichment plant. 80 to 90 meters underground. Unknown, damn.
Appears to be taking a position of we don't want to get involved here, making it clear this is not being done with America's obvious physical help, albeit I don't think he's too bothered about it happening. I'm probably quite pleased if it does destabilize Iran. But where does this all sit with Donald Trump's America First ideology? Should America, if it comes to it, if Iran suddenly attacks an American base, for example, should America get involved in this war?
Well, Piers, this is not America's war. This is a war that is confined to two parties in the Middle East. This is a war where the United States absolutely faces the threat of escalation. And as you mentioned, this mission creep and spilling over into the wider footprint of American military that exists throughout the Middle East. And I don't just mean Iraq and Syria. I mean all the American bases, which are clearly within range of, you mentioned the proxies, you mentioned all these other forces out there. Of course, it strikes the danger of spilling over, not to mention the IRGC has the ability to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, and imagine what that would do to global shipping and oil prices. By the way, they haven't done that. And 10 years ago today, Donald Trump comes down the golden escalator. And what did he say?
There's two countervailing things I guess you give them shit. So Iran, I don't think is shutting down Strait of Hormuz or any of that shit. That's the little place that's north of Saudi Arabia because the whole world will fucking hate them for it. And they'll be like, okay, you're done. and Iran's not going to start indiscriminately bombing U.S. bases. Remember, after we killed Soleimani, Iran was like, we're going to bomb your embassy, the one that is in Iraq, and we're going to target that one in 6 hours. We're going to shoot missiles at it, so just so you know, right? And they made a big show about it, and they did that, and they're like, okay, we're done, but we got you, right? I don't think Iran wants to escalate against the United States. But the only countervailing thing here that maybe would push Iran to do crazy shit, that I've said before, is that the situation across the Middle East has just gotten worse and worse for Iran over time, especially with the string of stunning Israeli military victories and intelligence victories over the past year and a half. The significant attacks on Hezbollah, I guess U.S. strikes maybe on the Houthis, if that matters much, and then the eradication of Hamas, basically, and then the collapse of Assad's regime in Syria. These are all things that are heavily unfavorable towards Iran and maybe would make them take a more suicidal or unhinged posture towards stuff in the Middle East, maybe, but I'm not sure. I just don't know I don't even know what the fuck Iran wants. I really don't know. Oh yeah, and then Russia being tied up in Ukraine. There's just a lot of bad things going on right now that are very unfavorable for Iran.
More foreign, endless wars. And instead, why don't we focus on the problems at home? He talked about, obviously, illegal aliens. He talked about deportations, but he said trillions of dollars.
Do you still think we need to focus on diplomacy with Iran, or do you agree more with Ben Shapiro? I don't know why we can't do more diplomacy with Iran. I don't know why we can't all just get along in the Middle East. It seems kind of cringe. But one day, when we do Iranian history, we shall learn.
Spent in Iraq, trillions spent in Afghanistan. And what did it get for us? Nothing. Dead soldiers, wounded soldiers. We got absolutely nothing out. You want to talk about destabilization? Well, I think those wars, the massive wars on terror, wars that, by the way, when I was in the United States military, I did participate in, at least in an intelligence capacity. But what did that do to the region? It destabilized it. Syria, completely destabilized right now. Iraq, completely destabilized. And Afghanistan, the Taliban is even in a better position than they were. Syria, dead soldiers, said trillions of dollars spent in Iraq, trillions spent in Afghanistan. And what did it get for us? Nothing. Dead soldiers, wounded soldiers. We got absolutely nothing out. You want to talk about destabilization? Well, I think those wars, the massive wars on terror, wars that, by the way, when I was in the United States military, I did participate in, at least in an intelligence capacity. But what did that do to the region? It destabilized it. Syria, completely destabilized right now. Iraq, completely destabilized. And Afghanistan, the Taliban is even in a better position than they were before we got involved.
I mean, it depends on what you're saying. Like, Assad being gone I think that's a favorable thing for the United States. I think the U.S. would view that as a positive outcome, no? I don't think Iraq is as fucked as it was 10 years ago when ISIS was creeping through. Although I can't speak to the current state of Iraq or how stable or unstable it is, but I don't think that the Syria example is great at all. I think the U.S., if they could have foreseen in the future that Assad would fall, I think it'd be like, oh, okay, fuck it, it's worth it.
Because they have all the U.S. military equipment that we left there. And so every time the U.S. gets involved in one of these things, it actually seems to make the situation much, much worse.
Okay, let's take a short break, panel. I'll come back to you for your reaction to this next interview I'm about to do. It's with the Iranian academic and former advisor to Iran's nuclear negotiating team, Mohammad Marandi. Professor Marandi, thank you for coming back on Uncensored. This is a pretty terrible situation for Iran. It looks like Israel has caught your military napping, caught your leaders napping. They've been asleep, it seems quite literally in some cases, as Israel launched this surprise attack, which has been so far stunningly successful and had comparatively small retaliation from Iran, which suggests that maybe you don't have the capability to do much about what is happening to your country.
Well, first of all, I have to point out some nonsense that your guest said. I fought in the Iran-Iraq War as a volunteer, and I was part of the war effort for 6 years, on and off. I was wounded 4 times, and I survived 2 chemical attacks. There was no children being pushed over minefields. These are myths that Westerners, Western media, Western elites have been promoting.
He's Iranian? Uh-oh. We would never, ever do that. We would never do any fucked up crazy shit. My understanding is the Iran-Iraq War was crazy. These two people fucking hated each other, and they both did as much unhinged shit as they fucking could. Yeah, but...
For many years, in order to demonize the Iranians and to portray us as fanatic. Right now, Piers, your friends, your Zionist allies, they bombed buildings belonging to the Iranian television. I'm in one of those buildings. And the guard right now is standing outside the door telling me to leave. And I was yelling at him, telling him to go. I'm going to finish this interview. We are not intimidated by you, your government, the United States, or the Israeli regime. This was a blatant act of aggression. People were murdered in Iranian radio and television just minutes ago. And I tweeted it, and your colleagues have seen it. And this building is also a target. Your allies target journalists. Your allies have murdered over 200 journalists, and you are complicit in this genocide.
Well, let me respond to that. Listen, I've seen you, Professor. All due respect, Professor. All due respect, Professor. I've seen you doing this kind of shtick in the last few days on all sorts of shows. And let me just respond. The reason that I actually think that Israel has a right to do what it is doing with your regime is that your regime has been the fulcrum for terrorism in the Middle East now for decades, through Hezbollah, through the Houthis.
Why are Arabs exempt from IDF conscription, but they can still volunteer? I think it's probably kind of a moral thing. It's like, well, Palestinian Arabs that live in Israel might not necessarily feel the same attachment to the state of Israel the same way the Jewish people do, so they're not forced to conscript, although I think they can sign up for the IDF if they want to, but they're exempt from the conscription stuff.
Through Hamas, it has done whatever it can do to destabilize the region, to terrorize Israel and anyone else it doesn't like. It's a draconian, oppressive, appalling regime, which is deeply unpopular with many Iranians. And every time I've seen you appear in the last few days, you've had a big smirk grin on your face, as if somehow you know better than everybody else, and that somehow we are misinterpreting your rulers and your regime, and you're all a bunch of really nice people who have nothing but good intentions for the rest of the world. Well, in fact, it's the complete opposite. And finally, Israel said enough, and they're coming after your nuclear capability because your own ruler, the Ayatollah, has made it clear that he would very much like to see Israel removed from this world. And if you hear that and you're in Israel, then you're going to take action to stop that happening. So that would be my response to you.
Uh-oh.
Well, if your rant is over, I point out that you are a dishonest person and a dishonest so-called journalist.
You can do stuff as much as you like.
But you are too cowardly. Be quiet for a moment. Be quiet for a moment and let me speak.
You don't tell me the response. If you're going to call me a coward, if you're going to call me a coward and a liar, then I won't be quiet on my own show. Especially not from someone like you who spews disinformation.
I am the one in this building that has been evacuated, and I'm only sitting here because of you. So allow me to speak.
Well, keep the ad hominem attached to yourself then. You're going to call me a liar and a coward. I'm going to jump in and take you on. You are
a coward. You are a coward. You did not come to Iran when I invited you, so you have no right to.
I wouldn't trust going to Iran. Why on earth would I trust going to Iran? As your guest
said nonsense about.
As your guest in Iran, with your contacts with the Iranian regime, I wouldn't trust that as far as I can throw it.
So don't comment about Iran if you don't come here.
Well, let me give you some facts about your.
To be fair, I haven't heard of this. I don't know if Iran is in the business of like murdering people. I would never go to Iran, but that's more out of my own ignorance and fear than like I don't know if Iran would actually murder people that were traveling. Now it is funny because I feel like if this guy wanted to do a sick comeback, what was the name of the guy Kamalji who got chainsawed up and murdered in Saudi Arabia? Who was that? That wasn't an Iranian, was it? Who was it? Khashoggi? Oh no, he was assassinated at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Okay. But he was a Saudi journalist, dissident, author, and columnist. And then he fled, and they got him. And they dextered him. You should check out the Daily Show correspondent getting jailed in Iran. Okay. Iran maybe they do jail people. I just haven't heard of it as much, but it doesn't. I don't really think Iran is like, it's not like North Korea, or it's not like an unhinged terrorist state. Like I feel like it's a little bit more akin to like Russia, but because they're Muslim and scary, I guess we view them as being more unhinged than I feel they actually are. But I don't know.
Your country. Let me give you some facts to see where I'm wrong here. Women face severe restrictions when it comes to marriage.
Like sometimes when there are bad things that happen, but sometimes the bad thing is like a good thing. Like people get mad at me for saying this, but I kind of brought it up with that. Well, people get mad at me. Nobody gets mad at me for saying this because it's my audience. Like when I bring up like microaggressions, in a way, microaggressions show a big improvement because if we're talking about microaggressions, then we're probably not lynching people anymore, right? So even if microaggressions are bad, it's probably an improvement from where we came. When Iran is like conducting warfare through proxies, or even Russia is conducting warfare sometimes through proxies, that's a good thing because it shows that the country has the wherewithal to be like, well, I generally can't be attacking people directly because it makes me look really bad. So I need to conduct warfare through a proxy group so that I can have some kind of plausible deniability. Plausible deniability is good because it means you're looking for plausible deniability, which means you care to some extent about maintaining some facade of, diplomatic relationships with other countries. So.
Divorce, inheritance, child custody, and so on. Compulsory veiling, punishable by flogging and prison sentences. Women punished for bad dressing, defined as exposing any body parts below the neck. Women banned from certain professions. They can't be judges. They can't be in certain positions in government.
Only as bad as Russia, yeah. They also imprison and torture people for nonsense. Occasionally they do, yeah. But it's not like, say, like ISIS, right? I think that a lot of people view every single theocratic Islamic regime or every single, even the dictatorships that are secular in the Middle East as being like ISIS, and they're not. ISIS is like some unhinged crazy shit. ISIS is like, we're going to your village and we're going door to door and we're like raping and murdering your entire fucking family on like levels of unhinged. That like everything is not ISIS or I don't even think Al-Qaeda was as bad as ISIS. Those people were unhinged. Those people were crazy. But
and on independent political parties, civil society organizations, trade unions, LGBT people suffer systematic discrimination and violence, closing shops that have so-called improperly veiled customers. Authorities censor media, jam certain television channels, continue to block or filter mobile apps, social media platforms, executions, including those of children, torture and other ill treatment are widespread and systematic. State television can often air torture-tainted confessions, arresting and sentencing people who break fast during Ramadan. Anyone who speaks out and protests against the regime can be subjected to the death penalty, flogging, prison terms and other severe penalties. It doesn't sound like a great place for me to visit, with all due respect, Professor Marandi. So you can tell me that I'm a coward and I'm a liar, and I can tell you that you prop up, personally, you go on the airwaves and you disingenuously prop up and grotesquely defend a terrible regime which is now getting, as many people see, its final comeuppance for constantly threatening Israel with getting a bomb and taking it out. And that's what this is about. You know it and I know it. And you also know that your regime has propped up the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas. It has been the octopus with its tentacles of terrorism spreading all over the Middle East. So you can call me what you like, but what you can't do is deny what I just said.
Ooh.
You are a coward.
So you keep saying.
You are a coward.
That's all you can say, isn't it? That's all you've got. That's all you got. Do one of your smart brains.
You helped enable genocide in Gaza for 2 months. You don't want to let me talk. You don't want me to talk.
I do, but if all you're going to do is call me a coward and a liar, then why should I keep listening to that? It's pointless. It's what you've been doing on the airway for days.
Because you say nonsense.
Really? What was nonsense about anything? What was nonsense about anything I said?
Everything. But you just rant on, and you think this way you can convince your audience that while your allies are murdering Iranians, while your allies have...
Destiny is really going to support World War III. What a disappointment. If World War III is going to happen, I'd rather it happen on our terms than their terms. Anybody that just constantly screeches no civilian deaths over and over again, those are the true supporters of World War III. You're playing the appeasement game. I don't know how many times you have to have that happen in history for you to realize, oh shit, infinitely appeasing somebody who wants to destroy somebody else is an ineffective tactic. But I mean, who knows? Maybe we can do it 2 or 3 times. I don't know how many world wars the world can survive, but...
Have murdered...
Yeah, your regime has been responsible for mass murder. Your regime has been responsible for mass murder.
Let me talk. You are afraid. You are afraid of letting me talk because you know that your narrative is falling apart.
Your narrative is I'm a coward and a liar. Have you got anything else in your tank? Any other argument other than ad hominem?
Tweets a couple of weeks ago. You won't let me talk. You're afraid of letting me talk. You're afraid.
I'm not afraid of you, Professor Marandi, but you look to me like you're afraid because you know now that the game is up. Iran's terrorism game is up.
I am in the Iranian radio television building, and it has been emptied because they say they're going to bomb this building. And I stayed here for you. And you are responsible for justifying these criminal acts. And those colleagues of yours in Iran who are true journalists who died today, their blood is on your hand. And
they're not on my hands because I'm not part of the Israeli government. All the IDF.
You are too cowardly to let me talk.
You're just talking nonsense. You're talking nonsense. If I was a coward, I wouldn't have had you on. I wouldn't have had you on if I was a coward. But I knew what you were trying to do. You try and do this with all the journalists that you talk to, and I'm afraid it doesn't work anymore. Your shtick doesn't work anymore. You defend the indefensible. You go ad hominem on every host you ever talk to. You were at it. It doesn't work anymore. Your shtick doesn't work anymore. You defend the indefensible. You go ad hominem on every host you ever talk to. You were at it yesterday with a Sky News presenter, and I'm not going to take it from you. Sorry, just not going to.
Damn.
I don't care. You're a genocide enabler.
And you're a terrorism defender. You're a terrorism defender. Yeah, you defend a terrorist regime. That's what you do.
The perfume of Arabia will never clean those hands of yours. Kill. Keep on the killing. Keep on justifying murder. Keep on demonizing Iranians and Palestinians and Lebanese. And keep on killing. Keep on...
I demonize terrorists. What I do is demonize terrorists. And the main fulcrum, the main fulcrum of terrorism, the main terrorism for terrorism, which has been incredibly damaging to the people, to Palestinians, to Lebanese,
glad we cut away from the panel to do this. Good one.
Professor, good to end with one of your smirks because they could all
nice. Good one. Good one. Good use of time. Thank you.
Going to go back to the panel now.
Thank you.
Matthew said I've talked to Professor Marandi a few times, and I watched him on the airwaves in the last few days, getting increasingly angry watching it because he is just a ludicrous individual who comes out and constantly defends the indefensible when it comes to that Iranian regime and has very close contacts with the rulers of Iran. But, it's an interesting thing that in between all the attacks he was spewing about me, the fact that he's sitting there now in a media building by the sound of it, which he's been told to evacuate, this is getting very serious and very real, isn't it, for people in Iran?
Very serious. And he reminded me a bit of, I don't know, comical allegory.
Yeah, I was exactly going to say that.
It's just completely ridiculous.
Yeah, completely
deluded and clearly shilling for the regime. And I just think of this incredible civilization that stretches back thousands of years with a GDP per capita of like $4,000. Israel's is over $50,000, a freer society.
Did he just say that we need to send him that video? Did you just use the GDP per capita number?
Wishes to develop and grow and be prosperous, rather than to live in this medieval, religious, fanatical worldview. All the things that you said there, Piers, are completely true about the way they degrade women and repress free speech and all these other punitive measures that are just so awful to endure. One thing I'd throw in, though, is I agreed with the previous speaker on the panel who said that the Afghanistan war was a mistake. Would have been better not to have gone in. I think that's a fair counterfactual analysis. I actually was against the Iraq war too. But I think we should confront something that I don't think was confronted by the America First lobby, which is that if one agrees that Iran would like a nuclear weapon, as the Nuclear Weapon Atomic Energy Authority has said, 60% enrichment, getting very, very close. And if you also believe, as I do, that they would likely use it, then let's not pretend that America can stay out of this. Even a relatively small nuclear war would lead to a nuclear winter that would have an effect around the world of catastrophic proportions. It would affect farming all around the world. It would lead to famine. We can't allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon. The idea that the counterfactual is staying out and allowing potentially a nuclear strike to occur would be catastrophic. I think we need to face up to that truth.
All right, shaking your head throughout all that.
Do you believe Iran was 3 days away from developing a nuclear weapon? 3 days away? No, but I think that they were approaching it. I think it may possibly within weeks of it. Yeah, sure.
I don't understand why you feel comfortable being such a defender of Iran.
I'm not. No. You see, that's total propaganda. Okay, so let's break it down one by one. Okay, so number one, when I see the Israeli ambassador earlier, he sounds like Baghdad Bob to me. Like Iran is the aggressor. No, Israel is clearly the aggressor. We all saw them start the war. Second of all, they say, oh my God, we're so worried about civilians. Israel always kills more civilians than...
Can we just talk about the nuclear weapon aspect? We're just never going to do that. What a waste of time. I feel like everything I watch for politics now is a waste of time.
opponents, and by an order of magnitude. For example, Hamas, terrible. They killed 36 kids on October 7th. Awful, right? Israel has killed 500 times as many kids. So this guy...
why would you, how retarded is this? Like, October 7th, 36 kids. Like, are they the only ones that matter? Fuck you, bro. I don't want to be killed by any of these motherfuckers. I'm not a kid.
Pretending to be an Iranian expert is telling us about how much he's concerned about women. Israel has killed 20,000 women in Gaza. How about their rights? How about the rights of to those women to stay alive? How about all the civilians?
Why are you avoiding criticizing?
So when I see you guys,
why are you criticizing?
I'm not avoiding it at all. I'm not avoiding it at all. Let me explain. Let me explain.
Why are you ducking saying criticism of Iran?
It's a simple question.
I'm not ducking it at all. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? It's simple. I don't like the Iranian regime at all. Okay, I'm an atheist now. They would kill me first. I got no interest in the Iranian regime, but the Israeli regime would also murder me. So I want you guys to be fair and balanced. So don't tell me that the Iranian regime is super dangerous to its neighbors, while Israel actually attacks all of its neighbors, including Iran. So tell me about how dangerous Israel.
Somebody should capture, kidnap Cenk in a video game, FBI agent, video game, and they should say, this is what's going to happen, okay? This is what's going to happen. You don't have a choice, and you're being forced to do this, or everything, all your bank account is going to be emptied. No violence, okay? You're going to be given a ticket where you have to live stream your genuine political positions every single day for 1 hour for 2 weeks, and you can either do this in Tel Aviv, or you can do this in Tehran. Where do you want to go? Are you seriously telling me that Cenk would feel safer in Tehran than he would feel in Tel Aviv? No shot. This is a delusional fucking take. This is an unfathomably fucking delusional take to have. Come the fuck on, dude.
Israeli terrorist regime is, as it attacks civilians again and again and again, except that you say, well, Muslim lives don't really matter. That's why you guys don't count the Muslim civilians that Israel murders on a regular basis. So look, if we think the Iranian regime is bad, and it is, it's just like Saddam's regime. Hold on, Ben. Let me finish. So the North Korean regime is terrible. The Chinese regime runs concentration camps for Uyghur Turks. Those Turks are my people. The Russians invaded Ukraine. These are all terrible regimes. That doesn't mean we have to start a war with them. And it doesn't mean that America has to fight Israel's war for it.
Well, America isn't fighting it at the moment.
Move on. Fight your own wars.
But America is
not $1, not one truth.
America is not involved in this war at the moment. Ben Ferguson.
Yeah, it's amazing you just said that Israel would kill him. I asked him 7, 8 times.
That's not true.
What would they murder you for? What would they murder you for? And I said over and over again, you said that Israel would murder you.
They murder journalists more than any other country.
So
they murdered more journalists than World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and Afghanistan combined. They murdered more journalists than all other conflicts in the world combined. They murdered Muslim Americans, 12 of them, and America does not defend American citizens in the occupied territories. Israel murders Americans all the time, and America never defends us.
This is the problem. When you say things that are this egregious, everyone watches.
Hasn't Iran been weeks away for 30 years? I don't think so. Pretty sure this is the first time the International Atomic Energy Agency has made a statement about how close they are, number one. Number two, I mean, they have tried to approach nuclear weapons in the past, and then I'm pretty sure they've gotten kind of smacked around for it, right? Stuxnet, the huge computer virus or whatever, in the 2000s, I don't remember the year, maybe it might have been 2010 or whatever, I think significantly degraded a bunch of their enrichment capabilities. And then Obama jumped on in 2014 with the JCPOA. I don't remember the year for this. 2015? For the nuclear deal with Iran to try to slow down their progression towards nuclear weapons as well. So, I mean,
watching around the world is going to look at this and say, this guy is an idiot because you didn't answer the question. You said that Israel would murder you right now.
I said, what would they murder you for? Journalists than all other conflicts in the world combined.
I'm asking you personally. You said they would murder you now. I'm not going to let up on this. What would they murder you for? You're telling me right now that you think Israel wants to find you and kill you right now where you are.
No. If I go to Israel, you said go to Israel. If I go to Israel, Israel would almost certainly murder. IDF already wrote my name on a bomb. It's not like.
Oh my God, dude, are you serious? Come the fuck on. What is this person donating for? Hold on, sorry. Mr. Manal, I've been watching you. It's your first likes interview, and I've never donated. Just wanted to say, I hope the lawsuit doesn't have a cloud over your head every day. Don't let these plaintiffs get you down. Oh, I know you're on that. Can't wait to see you in Houston. Love you. Thanks, buddy. Love you too.
Like they're hiding it, and they murder journalists more than any other country. In fact, all the other countries combined. That's a literal fact. And they murder Muslim Americans, 12 of them. And American, they didn't object under Biden. We don't object under Trump because you can murder American citizens only if you're Israel. The terrorist state of Israel is allowed to kill Americans. And what do we have to do? We have to give them another $311 billion. We have to start another war for them, like Iraq and spend $2 trillion. Why do the American people owe Israel hundreds of billions of dollars? Why do we owe them more wars? Why do we owe them dead American soldiers? We don't owe them anything. They owe us. Give me the $300 billion back. Give me the $300 billion back. You owe us. I don't know you. And Ben, you're supposed to be an American, not an Israeli. Look at me and Jack. Me and Jack don't agree on anything else. But we agree that we should serve America. I say Americans first, not Israelis. Stop the war. Look at MAGA. Steve Bannon, all states, stop the war. You ask for war.
Why are we quoting MAGA? Bannon, he said? Bro, are you okay? What?
Look at me and Jack. Me and Jack don't agree on anything else. But we agree that we should serve America. I say Americans first, not Israelis. Stop the war. Look at MAGA. Steve Bannon, all states, stop the war. You ask for war. Here's the left and the right uniting saying we don't want war.
Let Ben speak.
Number one, my foreign policy has changed drastically from after 9/11. I don't think we should go into Iraq. Afghanistan, if I could have a redo, I would change what I thought about that. I've said that very clearly for years now on TV. But no, I said I've changed my foreign policy. When you make mistakes and you see what happens, it's okay to change. It's called growing up. All right, you learn from your mistakes. I'm not in favor of invading America into Iran. So let me say that first, so you put words in my mouth. Second thing, I've seen 2 hostage videos today. One from the guy that's in Iran right now, and you. And I don't know why you act like there's a country that is running terrorism in the Middle East, Iran, who's chanting death to Israel. By the way, death to America. They chant death to America too. Okay, and why you act like they're not a threat to the Middle East and to American interests over there? That's why Donald Trump said yesterday.
Jack,
that's why Donald Trump said yesterday. If you come after, yes, I do. I do think Iran's a threat just because they helped kill.
I'm pretty sure that most of the American troops that died in Iraq during the occupation, I wish I could find this number again, because it was either a profile piece I was reading on Soleimani, or it was some other thing I was reading about the Syrian civil war. But I'm pretty sure most of the American troops that died in the occupation of Iraq afterwards were due to Iranian proxy groups that were being supported by the IRGC, that Soleimani was leading. I think that's why we killed him. The idea that, I mean, you could say they don't represent a threat to us now, I guess, because we don't have the same presence in the Middle East, if that's what he wants to argue.
Over there. That's why Donald Trump said yesterday.
Jack,
that's why Donald Trump said yesterday. If you come after, yes, I do. I do think Iran's a threat just because they helped kill American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. They trained the damn terrorists.
No, I asked Jack. I asked American.
I know personally. I know people that died serving their country in Iraq and Afghanistan. I just went to Fort Bragg and went to where the 82nd.
Yeah, because you sent them to die on behalf of Israel.
I'm not screwing around with this. Do not tell me
you
that
sent
Iran
them to
did not
die
help
on
kill
behalf of Israel.
Americans.
Ben, I had these debates with you on the Iraq War. I had these debates with you on the Iraq War. You were 100% wrong then. You're 100% wrong now. You sent American kids to die there on behalf of Israel then, and you want to send American kids to die on behalf of Israel.
Let me bring in, all right.
Jack, I disagree with you on everything else. But as an American, speak up here.
Let me bring in Jack. Jack, final word to you.
This guy's a fucking idiot. This guy was a Navy intelligence officer, got fucking, I think, kicked out after a year in the military, some bullshit. I don't even know I don't remember why he left, but he pretends that he had access to every hidden file, and he's just an absolute clown. But this is Jack Posobiec. You see him on Twitter a lot. Shouted out him at an event before where he was also stupid.
Well, certainly they're a threat, but in the sense that they're a threat because the United States is currently sending the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier from the Asia Pacific, from Westpac, over to the Middle East. So, by the way, this is the first time that China now has more aircraft carriers in the Pacific than the United States. The first time it's ever happened. Now you're going to have those 5,000 sailors on that aircraft carrier, plus the other 5,000 that are on the Carl Vinson, potentially sitting within range of everything that Iran has. This is exactly what I've been talking about. So the threat that are on the Carl Vinson, it's the first time it's ever happened. Now you're going to have those 5,000 sailors on that aircraft carrier, plus the other 5,000 that are on the Carl Vinson, potentially sitting within range of everything that Iran has. This is exactly what I've been talking about. So the threat to American lives is, and I think it's right there, I think it's what you're saying, it's because America is getting involved in a war that's not ours.
Can I ask a question of Jack and Shane, just quickly? You say it's a war that isn't yours. If you were convinced, let me ask you a hypothetical, that Iran was close to getting a nuclear weapon. If Iran was close to getting a nuclear weapon, as the UN inspectors say,
it's just the number one, 75 IQ, just whenever it's hypothetical. You should be committed to some kind of mental institution or insane asylum, or at the very least banned from having any kind of public, voice for anything. If you are we're really doing that now? Hypothetical. Hypothetical.
Let me ask you a direct question. Do you then think if America was the only country that had the capability to degrade and destroy Iran's nuclear capacity, would it then be in American interest to intervene?
That's a decent on-the-point question. Will either of these two people answer it? Israel already has nukes. What about Israel? Yeah, we have nukes. Israel got nukes. And America got nukes.
So should America go around and blow up all the nuclear sites that aren't American? Should we attack China? Should we attack Russia? Should we attack France?
They already have nukes, you fucking retard. What?
Should we attack the UK, all of them? Is that your contention?
So the UK is our ally, and France is our ally. What?
So you would attack Israel? It's a consistent position.
Oh, Israel! Oh, you gotta check. Yes, I come. Oh, I come everywhere. Thank you, Jank. Yes.
You would permit. You think it's in America's interests?
No, you're trying to Kafka trap me right now. You're trying to Kafka trap me, and you're trying to say, well, if you agreed to this hypothetical that I asked.
Kafka trapped me. It's a very, 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 very simple question. Okay. You actually 7th generation incest bred dipshit. At the actual experiment, the ideally bred phenotype of the most retarded, poisonous, cancerous fucking retard that is part of our media system right now for somebody who the fuck knows. This, an actual degenerated human being. You try to trap me by asking me a hypothetical. You try to trap me.
You're trying to Kafka trap me right now. You're trying to Kafka trap me, and you're trying to say, well, if you agreed to this hypothetical that I asked you, then you must also. No, I'm not playing that game. I'm not playing that game right now. You're saying in a hypothetical situation, should America attack someone? To your point, they do not have weaponized nuclear capability.
Imagine if the whole world ran this way, right? Why are we launching all these planes and everything today? Well, they're going to do a training exercise. Are they fighting anyone? Well, no. It's training. It's like practice. So what? They're fighting hypothetical opponents. Ground them. Don't waste the money. Oh, okay, my bad. What's that noise? Oh my God, it's a fire alarm. Is there a fire? Well, no, we're doing a fire drill. It's a hypothetical fire? No. Get rid of that. We're not doing that. Why do we have giant chambers where we run cars into the wall? Well, it's to test them for safety features and stuff, right? So what, but I mean, there's not even people in this. Well, yeah, it's like it's testing car crashes. So hypothetical car crashes? Are you fucking serious? Like, how does he think you design any policy or any forward-looking anything ever? I don't even know why I'm asking these questions. These aren't real people. None of these people are real people.
Uranium that is at the point of weaponization at 90%, which they could use for an atomic bomb. They do not have that. They have 60%. So you're saying even if they had 90%.
60% is already significantly over what they should have, number one. And number two, I'm pretty sure once you're at 60%, it's much easier from 60 to 90 than it was to go from 5 to 60 or whatever.
Which, by the way, doesn't sit with the DNI Gabbard's assessment and the entire assessment of the intelligence agencies.
Okay.
That Iran is not currently developing weapons of mass destruction. They're only enriching uranium. So you're saying, oh, well, that's totally fine. You've never even asked me what I think.
They're only enriching uranium. What? They're just enriching uranium. Like, we don't even know this guy's about to go murder people. Like, all we've seen is him buying masks, shredding all of his IDs, getting gloves and handcuffs, doing drills every day where he's screaming, hands up or I'll kill you. Like, we don't know what he's about to do. Like, what else? What are they enriching the uranium for?
So you're saying even if they had 90%, which, by the way, doesn't sit with the DNI Gabbard's assessment and the entire assessment of the intelligence agencies, that Iran is not currently developing weapons of mass destruction. They're only enriching uranium. So you're saying, oh, well, that's totally fine. You've never even asked me what I think. You're trying to play this game where you
He literally is asking you what you think. If you thought they were going for nuclear weapons, should they intervene? That's literally him asking. It's giving you a chance to answer the question.
I've been asking myself. I'm not trying to play any game. I've been asking myself the question a lot over the last few days. Once I read the report that Iran had been disseminating.
I'm the same as Mehdi. I read that report. And what was crystal clear from that report is that there have been constant lies and obfuscation from the Iranian regime in relation to the nuclear program.
From the Israeli regime.
Clearly, they believed that they were being lied to in their ability to report properly about what was going on. They also believed that uranium enrichment was now at a level where it was quite likely and possible that Iran could have a full nuclear bomb imminently, weeks, months, whatever that period may be. And in that circumstance, I took a view, in a way that I'd be very critical of the Israeli government for what's going on in Gaza at the moment, but I took a view that if you are Israel right now and you have Iran with the atomic agency saying they are getting perilously close to being able to create a nuclear bomb, that is a time where you may decide that is a time to stop them. And that appears to be what they're trying to do. So we're going to leave it there. You've run out of time, guys. I'm sorry.
No, I was asked a question. This is the same lies that Israel fed us about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
All right.
The same hypotheticals. Oh, what if Iraq has weapons of mass destruction?
True. Israel's who made us attack Iraq. He's almost there. Embrace your inner Middle Eastern identity and blame everything in the Jews. You're so close. Just embrace it. Just do it. Do it. Embrace it. Okay? The Jews are such a fun scapegoat for everything. Please go.
Oh, here's fake intelligence telling you that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. This is how Israel lied us into a war before. And then they always do hypotheticals like, oh, what if the Palestinians say that we don't have a right to exist? No, the Israeli cabinet has voted that Palestinians don't have a right to exist. Okay. All their hypotheticals are what Israel actually does. What if Iran has a nuke? Israel actually has a nuke. Okay. Israel is the most aggressive country and the most likely to use a nuclear weapon.
There it is.
We have to get out of Israel's control.
Okay, I've run out of time, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to leave it there. I appreciate you joining me.
Not $1, not one troop.
We've gone well over time.
Not $1, not one troop. Nice. I love this new saying.
Appreciate you all joining me. Thank you very much. Well, joining me now is Mehdi Hasan, the editor-in-chief at Zeteo News. Mehdi, great to have you back on Uncensored. Last time you came on recently, we reached agreement over what is going on.
Mehdi is going to be completely anti these attacks as well.
In Gaza, I concurred with your view that it was now crossing almost every line. It wasn't just my view, the view of former Israeli prime ministers, of allies of Israel, and so on. But we had a separate situation here. And I'm just curious, I've seen what you've been saying publicly about this Israel attack on Iran. If you're Israel and you see that report from the Atomic Agency, which appears to suggest that Iran has been lying, obfuscating, covering up, not allowing proper inspections and so on, and now appears to have reached 60% enrichment of uranium, which is the next stage it can reach, where now it can be imminent, it can be within months, that it could potentially get to nuclear power. Can you at least, without agreeing with it, can you understand why Israel has felt threatened by that report?
So, Piers, thanks for having me back. And I'm glad you started by asking about the IAEA report, because I know you brought it up with your panel as well. And I just want your viewers at home to be clear, because...
Oh, God. He's going to discredit the IAEA. That's what he's going to do. I can feel it. I just got that aura. I can see his aura. I can read it. I'm just kidding. He's not going to do that. He wouldn't do that.
You described it accurately a moment ago, what the report says. I read the 22-page report, came out May 31st, declassified. But on Friday, I was disappointed to see you tweeting about, you said the report exposes an imminent nuclear threat from Iran, which could justify a preemptive strike. What we saw on Thursday night from Israel was not a preemptive strike. It was a preventive strike, which is illegal under international law. It's what George Bush and the neocons claimed the Iraq war was.
Wait, what's the difference between those? What's the difference between a preemptive and a preventative? Are these actually defined terms somewhere?
Against Saddam Hussein, which you and I opposed, rightly so. And that IAEA report does not expose an imminent nuclear threat. It says what you just said it says. It says that they haven't been cooperating very well. It says their level of cooperation has been, quote, less than satisfactory. It says some of their technical answers about their program have lacked credibility. It says they've impeded some of the inspectors. It says that they were working on some kind of military program pre-2003, which is what US intelligence has also said. Those are all bad things, Piers. You and I can both agree those are bad things, and Iran should not be doing those things. And the IAEA board voted to say they're in breach of their obligations. But that's not an imminent nuclear threat. The report does not say Iran poses an imminent nuclear threat. Your tweet was wrong on Friday.
Well, I think it's as I just said. When it says 60% enrichment of uranium, it's the next stage.
Yeah.
That somebody who wants to create a nuclear bomb, right? So imminent. Look, what do I mean by imminent? As I said in the panel, it could be weeks, months, a year, whatever. But they've reached the stage of enrichment. But they have the capability to take it to another stage and create a bomb.
Yes. So let's find more.
The agency's JCPOA-related verification and monitoring has been seriously affected by the cessation of implementation by Iran of its nuclear-related commitments under the JCPOA. The situation has been exacerbated by Iran's subsequent decision to have all of the agency's JCPOA-related surveillance and monitoring equipment removed. The agency has lost continuity of knowledge in relation to the production and current inventory of centrifuges, rotors, and bellows, heavy water, and UOC, which it will not be able to restore as a result of not having been able to perform JCPOA-related verification and monitoring activities for more than 4 years. Iran's decision to remove all of the agency's equipment previously installed in Iran for JCPOA-related surveillance and monitoring activities has also had detrimental implications for the agency's ability to provide assurance of the peaceful nature of Iran's nuclear program. It has also been more than 4 years since Iran stopped provisionally applying its additional protocol. Therefore, throughout this period, Iran has not provided updated declarations, and the agency has not been able to conduct complementary access to any sites and other locations in Iran. The significantly increased production and accumulation of highly enriched uranium by Iran, the only non-nuclear weapon state to produce such nuclear material, is of concern. The Director General will continue to report as appropriate. As of the 17th of May, 2025, the inventory of uranium enriched up to 60% of U-235 in forms other than U-6 remains 2 kilograms of uranium as previously reported, consisting of 1.6 kilograms of uranium in irradiated targets, verified at TRR on the 17th of May, 2025, and 0.4 kilograms of uranium in liquid and solid scrap, verified at FPFP on May 17th, 2025. I don't know. I wonder how much you need for bombs again. How much U-235 do you need for a modern nuclear warhead? This course thing says 2 to 4 kilograms of U-235. Damn. As of the May 17, 2025, the agency had estimated that the total enriched uranium stockpile in the form of UF6 of 8,413.3 kilograms comprised. So 408.6 kilograms of uranium enriched up to 60%. Damn. How long to go from 60% enriched to higher? Enriching uranium in its natural state to between 3 to 5% U-235 and LEU enrichment levels used in most nuclear power plants takes a lot of time and resources. It's relatively easier and quicker to then enrich LEU to 90% needed for weapons-grade uranium. Once a country can enrich uranium at all, the breakout time is often just months.